All right. Welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks Philly Sports. We got a really special broadcast. We're on Heat Ratio Sports Live. Kind of late here with my man Johnny U, but it's Friday night. We got some time. And we wanted to talk some Super Bowl, talk some Carson Wentz.
There's a lot to talk about.
Wow. The rumors that have streamed around today, they aren't really rumors, man. They're the reports. They're coming from a lot of credible sources, and there is some juice there. There's some smoke, but there's some juice there, and we're going to talk about it. We'll talk about some Deshaun Watson. Obviously we'll see. Obviously he requested the trade out of Houston. He's demanding his side of it. Wentz didn't say much, but we'll get into that as well. And then of course, we'll make our Super Bowl picks. Keep it nice and easy for you guys tonight. But thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm here with my man, Johnny Ulecka from All About the Birds. I'm sure you guys have already seen him if you're checking out Heat Ratio Sports. This man knows his stuff. He knows his birds especially. And I'm happy to have you on the show, Johnny.
I'm happy to be here. I'm always happy to talk to you.
Awesome, man. Let's get after it, man. Good evening, Adam. Thanks for the comment out there. Definitely comment, say how you guys are feeling, what we're talking about. We're here to discuss it, man. So let's get into it, man. We came here to talk about the Super Bowl. I know the Eagles news is kind of taking it over, but we will dig in. How are you feeling, Johnny? What are you looking at in the Super Bowl? Let's talk about some keys to success for each team, right?
So, I look at it this way. Now, the keys to success for my thing with Kansas City is to be able to protect Patrick Mahomes. It's a little bit of a tongue twister there. But you're down. Eric Fisher tore his Achilles. Mitchell Schwartz has been out since earlier in the season. Duvernay Tardif, who is one of the starting guards, opted out.
Yeah.
So you're plugging and playing Andrew Wiley at right tackle, who's usually been a guard, and you have Mike Remmers, who's played right tackle for Carolina. He's the left tackle. To go up against JPP and Shaq Barrett.
Yeah.
I know he's Patrick Mahomes, but they were able to get to Aaron Rodgers the first time they played a lot, and he's one of the quickest releases.
Yeah.
But the key for, KC offensively is they're able to protect him any bit. Who's covering Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Mikael Hardeman, Marcus Robinson, Sammy Watkins? There's so many players for them to, have to keep their eyes on. That's going to be pretty tough for Tampa Bay, the defense. And of course, so that's my big thing for Kansas City aspect. The offensive line, that's my one. And we saw it with the Eagles this year.
Yeah. And, it's hard for any quarterback to be successful with a makeshift offensive line. Yeah. You mentioned the Eagles. Obviously, neither of those quarterbacks are on Mahomes' level. We're not saying that, and obviously the offensive scheme isn't the same either. But I do. That's what I was going to get at with Kansas City. I do expect them to scheme guys open quickly. You can have a lot of quick plays to Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. They get open. They got a lot of speed over there, so they can get open quick. But it is a makeshift offensive line at the end of the day. They're not, they'll be lucky if they can run the football against one of the best rushing defenses in the NFL. So there's not going to be any, if you can't run the ball, you can't run play action. I mean, it's going to limit the offense as much as you can limit Patrick Mahomes, right? But the defensive line on the Bucs, I mean, like you said, they terrorized Aaron Rodgers, and you watched Brady be able to beat the Packers last week, lofting, these balls for anybody to catch out there, 3 interceptions. So, and they were still able to win. So that speaks a lot to me. I think they just got this weird feeling with the Bucs where you just can't count them out. Although I think, Kansas City is just a powerhouse, man. And you mentioned it. It's hard to imagine a defense being able to stop, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's borderline unstoppable. But yeah, I think you hit it with the Chiefs. You got to protect Mahomes. Hope that you can run the football. Keep the defense honest. Force Brady to make mistakes. You saw Green Bay. They kind of let him. They eventually got to him. They eventually forced the turnovers as Tom Brady went throughout the game. He started out very hot against Green Bay, and then of course Mahomes just has to simply outplay Brady. We can't have this 500 passing yard game from Brady like he had against us in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Yeah. But I don't expect that. I expect Kansas City's defense is a lot better than what people give them credit for. But what would you say about the Bucs?
So the Bucs getting Antonio Brown back is going to be a big boost for that offense.
Yeah.
But the other side of the ball, for them to be able to have Jordan Whitehead and Antoine Winfield Jr. back in that secondary, those two safeties, for them to be able to play and to be able to be healthy for them, that's major because it gives you that that aspect of having someone back there not going on second and third stringers in the back end of your secondary. Right. And, they have linebackers in Levante David and Devin White who are probably going to be the best linebacking duo that Kansas City has faced this year. They both are super talented. Jason's right. He has that.
Yeah, man, that's where I'm at with it. You just never count Brady out, man.
He may be 43 years old, but they're running the ball. They're running the ball with Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. So, LaShawn McCoy may just get another ring for just sitting around again. But no, it's the only thing that I could see really hurting Brady and leading to turnovers is a guy like Chris Jones getting in his face up the middle. Yeah. Up the middle pressure for Brady has been tough. Yeah. He's not elusive. I said it on our show on Wednesday night. He's not elusive enough to get around the edge. He's not a Patrick Mahomes. He's not an Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be able to escape the pocket as well as some other guys.
Yeah, and you just got to hope the Chiefs, the defense comes to play as they have been. Tyrann Mathieu back there makes a lot of plays. They got a lot of young corners that are playing very well, very under the radar. But
L'Jarius Sneed.
That dude is a baller, man. And you started to really see it in the playoffs. It was on Showcase.
Yeah, and Jason will like this, Louisiana Tech. He always loves me when I throw in those colleges. So no, he's one heck of a player, and they've done that. They're able to get these guys. Last year they did it. This year they're doing it. They're able to get these players middle to later rounds, and they're turning out to be solid contributors. And, it proves being able to develop talent is major in terms of success.
Yeah. Yeah, they plug them in and they plug them into a system that is easy, Quote Sirianni there, right? No, but my keys, are quite basically the opposite, obviously, for the Bucs. Pressure Mahomes. He's missing a bunch of his offensive linemen there. I do think they got to score sevens, not threes, man. I think that's where the Buffalo Bills really killed themselves, just settling for field goals. I did not like that. Between Aaron Rodgers not getting to go for it on fourth down and the Bills just kicking field goal after field goal. I mean, it was just very disappointing from both sides, that you expected much more from. But, and then win the turnover battle. Obviously, you can't have Brady out there turning the ball over 3 times. That can't happen. They're going to get blown out of the arena. So, that cannot happen. He can't be, lofting that up. But, to kind of change the subject but stick to the Super Bowl, we have a lot of history with Andy Reid, of course. The talk, now is how great is Andy Reid? I know some of the guys talked about it on Heat Ratio Sports last night or a few nights ago. But, is he a top 5 head coach of all time? Like, what does this Super Bowl mean for him? Does he need this Super Bowl? Like, how bad does he need this?
I would say him winning the Super Bowl will definitely make his case even better and almost solidify as being a top 5 head coach of all time. But ever since he left the Eagles after the 2012 season, he's won 91 games, 7 of 8 playoff appearances, going to be 2 Super Bowl appearances. The Eagles have 69 wins in that span, 4 out of 8 playoff appearances. So it shows you, Andy Reid is one hell of a coach.
Yeah.
And what he's done with both franchises. It's not like some of these guys where they go from one franchise and they fizzle out. They're not that great. Bill Belichick is one of the best all time. But when he was the coach in Cleveland, he didn't have success. Yeah, his last year they were a little bit successful and they played, very well in terms of they won a playoff game and everything. But he then went to New England. Well, the Jets quit, then went to New England, and then was able Tom Brady and all that. We all know that.
Right.
Andy Reid from 99 to 2012, you look at his record and what he did with the Eagles. And there was a stat last week. I don't know if you saw it, was the last coach he's the only coach to back-to-back home NFC championship games and back-to-back home AFC championship games.
It's unreal.
So to me, if he wins it, it'll definitely solidify him. But I think by the time his career is all said and done, he's going to be a top 5 head coach of all time.
Yeah. And at this pace, I mean, with Patrick Mahomes, he's just going to keep on, maybe he won't rack up consecutive Super Bowls, but he's liable to get 2 or 3, at least with Patrick Mahomes, as long as he can stay healthy. So he'll get to ride out Patrick Mahomes' career, as long as he wants to, because nobody's going to fire him from Kansas City, after you got him in back-to-back Super Bowls. So he can ride, Patrick Mahomes' coach. I don't even mean it like that, because like you said, everywhere Andy Reid has been, he's installed this culture. It's a winning culture. And, quite frankly, the Eagles' best years were with Andy Reid, aside from that Super Bowl in 2017-18. So he goes and he's a culture creator. He went straight to the Chiefs, implemented this system, gets guys like Alex Smith in the playoffs. He went to the playoffs with Alex Smith. He won games with Alex Smith, before Mahomes even got there. Obviously, Mahomes took him to the next level. But, it's time to start having the conversation. Maybe not up to Bill's, level yet. He hasn't racked up that many rings. But, like you said, Bill's kind of Bill Belichick has kind of went on a different path. So, he kind of was that guy with Tom Brady for all of those rings. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a different situation, but, I don't know. It could end up like that, I guess, with Patrick Mahomes. If he does end up winning a bunch, it could end up with that same type of, story. But, I mean, you mentioned all his accolades. It's hard to deny Andy Reid's success. I don't know where he ranks on some of the older head coaches, some of these guys back in the day, but he's definitely, got to be in that top 10, top 5 category at this point with the consecutive seasons of winning. It's just ridiculous at this point. And the talent that he develops. Another point that I brought up the other day was, look at the guys that Andy Reid has taken chances on. And it's worked out. Tyreek Hill might not be on the Chiefs if Andy Reid isn't the head coach of that team. Michael Vick, it goes down the line. So, kudos to Andy. I want him to win. I'm not going to be mad if Tom Brady wins at 43. I'm really not going to be upset. I'm not going to hate on the greatness, but I do want Andy to win. I do. For his legacy, just keep improving it. You want to add anything?
My thing, like thinking about the whole Andy Reid, a lot of this Mahomes, I'm not comparing, but a lot of what you see is what you wish you saw with the McNabb career, of being able to get to these Super Bowls and win the Super Bowls. And, 2002, 2003, 2004, basically those 3 years could have been what these past 3 years for the Chiefs have been. Everything was set up there. Everything was set up when Andy Reid left. If you look at that team when he left, 2013. So he goes to the Chiefs. The Chiefs have the number 1 pick, and they draft Eric Fisher, number 1. And then the second round, they go and take Travis Kelce. Eagles had the 3rd pick. Eagles went Lane Johnson, and then they went Zach Ertz. So already on that team, he had, remember, Michael Vick. He had LaShawn McCoy, Brent Selleck. He had Deshaun Jackson, had Jeremy Maclin. And to really think of it this way, they wanted to try to get Russell Wilson in 2012. If Russell Wilson was drafted, my feeling is Andy Reid is never fired.
Yeah, I mean that's
that's
a great point.
There's a lot of what ifs when you get to
Yeah.
those scenarios, but I understand everything's sour. 2011 was the dream team year. It sucked. 2012 they started out with 3-1, and then they lose, and they finish 4-12. So, unfortunately, maybe it was time that he needed a different outlook, a different, new beings. But to be mad if he wins and hold the grudge because he didn't do it here, to me, it's childish. To me, I hope he's successful. Like you said, I'm not going to be mad if they lose. It's not, Andy Reid, I love him as a coach for the Eagles.
Not the end of the world. I mean, it's not my squad,
Exactly. It's not my team. Hope for the best. But if Tom Brady wins, okay, Tom Brady wins. Okay. My thing is, when the hell are you going to retire? So I can stop talking about you.
Right.
So, it's that's just how I feel with that. But, if he wins, he wins. He's done it for as long. He's one of the all-time best NFL players for a reason.
And to your point, with Andy Reid, maybe even to your point about him, his time being up in Philly, maybe he just learned from those experiences with McNabb, and that helped him once he got Patrick Mahomes in his hands. You just you never know. It's a bunch of what ifs, but after we got our Super Bowl, I can't be angry if Andy Reid wins Super Bowls with the Chiefs. Like it's left me any of that angst. He was one of he created this stable Eagles franchise. Well, what used to be what used to be a stable, consistent contender in the NFC, and not looking that way now. I almost misstepped there. It's been a disaster recently, but he did have us very steady through the early 2000s, and even created, like you said, left a decent team for Chip Kelly to be successful for 2 seasons, and here we are. So we'll stick with Andy Reid. I'm going to talk about his coaching staff here. Were you interested in Eric Bieniemy at all for the head coaching position? I've seen a lot of people calling out the Eagles in the organization for not even giving him an interview. I'll give you my take from the jump. I just felt like if you're Jeff Lurie and you're Howie Roseman, you gotta kind of get away from that Andy Reid tree. Just try something else. It would be a little redundant to fire Doug and then replace him with the guy that replaced him in Kansas City. I mean, I just think that's kind of weird, and it would seem a little repetitive. How did you feel about it? Did you care? Who were you most interested in?
The person I liked was Robert Saleh from San Francisco. I really liked him, and I was really interested and intrigued by Joe Brady just because of the young mind, offensive mind, everything. What you said with Bieniemy, For me, I agree with you about going the Andy Reid tree and everything, but he deserves a better shot than what he's given, and I just don't think that I understand what people say about, oh, well, you're in the playoffs and you're deep into the playoffs, and you can't really interview him in person, you can't hire him until after the season's over, and maybe it's to the credit of, they keep going to Super Bowls. So by being in February, and the only reason I say that may be a deterrent to some teams to be able to hire him is because by that time, your coaching staff is already picked apart by other teams. So you're not going to, because Andy Reid has a rule when he was in Philly, you don't take assistants from me. You go out and get your own assistants.
Right.
So what Sirianni's been doing is getting assistants from his old staff that's that. He deserves a shot, no doubt. He's a bright mind, and with the people who bring up back in the 90s what he did, they're just looking for an agenda to try to throw somebody down, which is absolute bull. The guy's gone through so much. He's a special needs child. There's so much adversity that he's been through, and he's talked about it.
Yeah.
But he absolutely deserves a shot in this league. I know a lot of people compared the Deuce Staley and Eric Bieniemy and that kind of stuff. Eric
Yeah.
Bieniemy is an offensive coordinator, so I give him a little bit more of a doubt than Deuce. But like for me, there should be more. You want to say minority candidates. I don't really like using that word, but there should be more. Like look at Tampa Bay, their whole staff. For me, it's through the years, it's been the boys club of let me hire my friend of my friend of my friend of my friend of my friend.
Yeah.
And you're not fully looking at the best candidate and who could possibly be, the best fit to take your team to the next level, the next bright mind, all these type of things. And, there's a guy in the Monday Night Football booth, Louis Riddick, who can be absolutely stellar, absolute amazing. I'd love him as a general manager. We've talked about it on our show, and he should be a GM somewhere. He's not going to be because the weasel up in the front office of the Eagles doesn't like him. They had their beef or whatever. But stuff like that I hope as the years go, more and more of the opportunities open up because it's deserved and it's been way too long.
Yeah, and I guess what disappointed me. Because to a certain extent, I would think what you mentioned. He's on a championship, roster. He's got a Kansas City team that looks like they're not going to get knocked off anytime soon with Patrick Mahomes leading the way. And he's the offensive coordinator for the best offense in the NFL and one of the best offenses ever. And why give it up? But then when you hear the reports of, teams not even offering not even asking for an interview, I know there's teams out there that he probably wouldn't have considered, like Houston, like Philadelphia, maybe. So, I'm not even saying that, if we offered him an interview, we got him. Like, it's not even like that. It's just the fact that he wasn't, asked for an interview. That's just very weird to me. You mentioned it. It's a friend of a friend. You look at around the NFL and you have to ask yourself, what's the percentage of head coaches that are minority compared to the percentage of players that are minorities? You know what I mean? Because I think when you break it down like that, that's where it really, shows what we're getting at. You know what I mean? So, I just think it is a bit disgraceful in a sense. You mentioned Louis Riddick. Stellar guy. No reason he shouldn't have a GM position. But maybe he's not willing to just, you just never know.
Yeah.
You never know if you're getting the truth from the media. So it's hard to know, but definitely guys that deserve opportunities at the top levels and they deserve to be leaders in an organization. And I think that's what the NFL, they've tried with these rules, the Rooney Rule, all this stuff. And it's not working. It's now become this like joke where you give like somebody you're not going to offer the job an interview just to give them an interview. You know what I mean? So just to meet like a quota. I don't even know what you can do to fix it. What do you think? Is there any way that you can fix that?
To your point of what you said, the GM, there was 3 African-American GMs that were hired. I think 3 or 3 minorities. I'm not sure exactly. I think, which is a plus because to me, one of the best general managers of all time is Ozzie Newsome. Ozzie Newsome of the Baltimore Ravens built that team. His first 2 draft picks when he became GM was Jonathan Ogden and Ray Lewis, 2 Hall of Famers. So, they get 3 new there's 3 new GMs, which is great to see. They have because David Culley of Houston and then Robert Saleh are 2 minority candidates who are hired. So that's a little stepping stone. I'm not going to call it a building block because it's not a building, but it's a little stepping stone that hopefully in the future. I don't want to say with the percentage of players in the league to coaches because sometimes the best players aren't the best coaches.
Yeah.
So
very true.
You have players like Wayne Gretzky in hockey. He wasn't a good coach, and he was the best player of all time.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan can't really run a franchise. We could see that. So it doesn't always correlate, but there are bright minds out there. Yeah, Martin Mayhew from I think he was from San Francisco. He actually went to Washington. So you're starting to see that, which is great because there's so many people that deserve so many opportunities.
Yeah.
That don't get it. Same thing with women in sports.
Yeah.
And just because of a certain specific or a gender or a sexual orientation or whatever it may be, you don't look down, upon a person because of a certain aspect.
If they know the game, they know the game. That's, you know what I mean? If they know the sport, they know the sport. That's all it comes down to.
And it's huge because it goes in all aspects of life too. You can't look at somebody and say, just looking at them, they can't do that, or look at them if they look a certain way or they dress a certain way, or to me it hits home because my daughter has to wear special protection when she goes outside, a mask, a visor, long sleeves. It may be 95 degrees, but she has to wear it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you get people that make looks and they stare and all that. The thing is, everyone deserves the opportunity no matter what.
Yeah.
You give them the opportunity because you never know what someone can show you when given the opportunity. And that's what the NFL should start doing, is no matter what opportunity you want to give someone, you give someone the opportunity because you never know what they could do. You never know what they can show you.
Yeah.
Take in point Ozzie Newsome for the Ravens.
Yeah.
Won 2 Super Bowls as a general manager of the Baltimore Ravens and built a franchise that is great. So to me, you give chances.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to be doing.
Yeah. You got to take risks. And you see, that's where you get the most reward, when you do take those risks.
100%.
Yeah, I thought those were beautiful points. Thank you for that, Johnny. So I did want to get your opinion, on the new Eagles coaching staff. Were you pleased with the Sirianni hire? How have you felt about him so far with the press conference? He kind of blew that first one. Philly was coming at him hard. Media was coming at him hard. How are you feeling about the staff that he's put together, and just the whole setup that he's getting here?
Like I said, the negative spin on him and his press conference, if you can coach the team, if you can get the most out of your players, if you know what you do, I could really care less how you talk in front of the media. Doesn't matter to me. A lot of those media people just want to spin a story too, as well.
Yeah.
When you got to talk to the Howard Eskins and Elliott Shore Parks and all these guys that just want to spin something a certain way.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me. Like his staff, I'm very intrigued. I like Jonathan Gannon, reading a lot about him and the type of defenses. And, we're going to get into a little bit because, of the free agents I have. There's a little bit, there's a lot of tie-ins to that. But my whole outlook on it is the youth of the coaching staff. Now, it's going to be probably one of the, if not the youngest, one of the youngest coaching staffs in the league. And, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Time will tell. We'll see. Are they able to get the most out of their players? Are they able to develop the players? Are they able to hold the players accountable? Like Sirianni said that.
Yeah.
I know on our show, we've been saying that accountability.
Yeah.
And playing smart football, no stupid penalties, all this kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to. I'm optimistic. I'm a very optimistic fan. I try and look into good instead of trying to dwell in the negatives. In terms of some of the fan base, I know on Twitter we see it all, the positives and the negatives. But look at that, other than Stalin. But it's a young coaching staff, fresh minds, fresh ideas. So I'm intrigued, and I'm ready to look forward to OTAs and training camps and getting into this preseason, hopefully, and all in the offseason. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. And you kind of hit the point that I'm gonna hit. I'm a very optimistic fan. I'm trying, I'm trying to understand Sirianni. His press conference, I get it. He was having a hard time, articulating what he's trying to say. he's got a whole city looking at him, and they just let a Super Bowl winning coach walk away. They let him go. You're coming out, you're asking him who the starting quarterback is. You see why he couldn't answer that. Imagine if he would have said Wentz is the starter last week, and then we see what's happening this week. I mean, he would look like a moron if he did that. So, he was playing his cards right. Maybe, Howie and Jeff definitely they definitely instructed him to not answer that question. And it was smart. I mean, you don't need to answer that question right now. We are not even to the offseason yet. So that, there's no way that you can make that decision right now. And you see why. Maybe next week when you ask him and Carson's traded, maybe he'll say Jalen Hurts, right? So I got that part. There was that clip that was going around, of him talking about making these systems and, making it easy. I got the gist of what he was trying to say. It made sense, but, I get why people were kind of picking on him there because he was being kind of repetitive. But, what I took from it was that he's going to make these systems that are easy for players to understand. You saw in an offense last year, players that didn't know what they were doing, a lot of BS on the offensive end, penalties, undisciplined, and to the point where we're seeing, draft picks like Reagor not turn out well, JJ not turn out well. So what he's saying is he's going to put systems in place for these guys to catch on. And to just have the talent take over, like I got it. I got that part, to where they don't have to think. They can literally just play naturally and let their talent take over and show their skill. And, I'm not sure if Doug was the whole problem there, if Carson was the whole problem there. It's hard to say with that offensive line last year. But, what have we seen the entire time, that Doug, since Frank Reich has left, of Doug's offense? What have we seen? These wide receivers aren't successful. You look at a guy like Aguilar go to the Raiders and ball out this year. And then you see what we did with guys like Jay Jaw, even Travis Fulgham. He goes off there. Maybe it's because the attention caught up to him, but he disappeared off the face of the earth. You got to make a point to get guys involved, and I think that's what he means. You get Reagor 2 touches early, and then you go away from him. That's not getting a guy, hot and getting them involved in the game. So that's what I took from Sirianni. Maybe I'm just making it into what I wanted to hear. But that's what I took from it. Systems that are going to be easy to where the players can play naturally and not have a lot of stress. And it's going to be hard for defenses to stop because these players are relaxed. They know what they're doing. And they're able to let that talent take over. That's what I took from it, honestly.
Yeah, and if you look at the Colts offense, they run the ball, which, haven't we asked about that with Miles Sanders? Is you have this running back who is a top talent, and you're not using him. That's how I feel. And a guy like T.Y. Hilton, who they used in space, and they used a couple of different ways, which you'd want to see Jalen Reagor used. Yeah. So there's a lot to like when you break down and look at the film and watch the Colts offense. And I know it's not the exact same thing. Sirianni's going to have some differences there with bringing in Steichen, who's got some different things there, and Patullo. So there's a lot of different factors. But what he said, and even the quarterback coach, Brian Johnson, who's really highly regarded. Yeah. And, there's different pieces that he even said he's going to take from all these guys. And, for me, it's like I said, it's very intriguing. I know Dan, who's watching, he's always, called Doug's offense vanilla. Yeah. Hopefully it's a little bit of, mint chocolate chip or something different.
Yeah, it's something, man. Give me some options.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think you made a good point there, especially just mentioning running the ball and using Miles Sanders. I think that's why I have so much optimism, is because I feel like if you were from the outside looking in at that team last year, or this past season, it's not even over yet, but this past season, you're looking at that team and you're like, man, something is off. Like you look at other offenses, they run the football, they use play action, they get their quarterbacks that are mobile out of the pocket, And this stuff just looks so clean on other teams like the Rams, like the 49ers, with these beautiful offenses and these schemes. But it's as simple as just simply giving the ball to Miles Sanders 20 plus times in one game. Like, that's the type of stuff we're asking for. It's not even rocket science. It's not some next level scheme. Run the football. Do what helps your players succeed. Play to their strengths. And it seemed like Doug's offense was more, play to my offense. Yeah. My offense isn't built for you. You're built from. You're going to build yourself for my offense. And that's just. I don't think that's popular in the league today. I don't think it's popular for players. But I think that's where you saw with Jalen Hurts even last year is that you kind of got a little more freedom from the playbook with his legs. You know what I mean? So he can get out of the pocket. He can do more on the run than Carson Wentz. Yeah. So it kind of masks what I would call it is it's just not very fun, the offense that they run. You know what I mean? You look at the offense that Kansas City runs, those short outs for Tyreek Hill, and you give him, space to make, plays after the catch. And you just didn't see that here with guys like Rager, who that he's known for. So that's why I'm like, it can't get worse than Doug's offense and what we've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, no. And you watch a player for the Colts like Nyheim Hines, and you think to yourself, imagine Boston Scott kind of doing a little bit of what they use with Nyheim Hines. There's players on the team that you watch the Colts offense, you can see them using those type of players that they have. So like a Zach Pascal, who, Travis Fulgham and Zach Pascal were teammates at Old Dominion. So, using some of these, and that's what I feel this offensive staff, what they're going to do is they're not going to try and jam that square peg into a round hole. Exactly. They're going to take the square peg and make a square hole and fit it in. They're not going to, dilly-dally and say, well, it's going to be, we're going to do this.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah. We're just going to run deep routes while our quarterback has no offensive line and get sacked. And there's hopefully it's a lot of creativity.
It's very simple. It's very simple stuff that you just, that you could have adjusted last season. Like you mentioned, nothing killed me more than the third downs and, the third and shorts, and we just send it, to Deshaun Jackson deep. Like that pissed me off so much, when we just need like 3 yards. And, the crazy thing is that used to be Zach Ertz right there. You know what I mean? That was our go-to play. And like all of a sudden we're just going on these go routes to like John Hightower on 3rd and 3. Like, no, I'm not. I don't want to see that. And I don't want to see Carson Wentz on a read option at the goal line for the game on the line.
No. If it's Jalen Hurts, it's different.
I want to see that. Like,
it's Carson Wentz. No, you don't want to see that.
No. So we mentioned Wentz. We got to talk about it, obviously. A bunch of reports have came out since he's gotten benched, right? I mean, from the week after we've been hearing that he wants out. Yeah. So, where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm starting to believe it, of course. You have to. It came from guys like Les Bowen, Adam Schefter, Tim McManus. It was coming from everybody today. Whether it's the Eagles, blowing smoke and trying to get other teams invested, I'm just not getting that feeling. It seems like, every credible source is coming out, and they're letting us know what teams are talking about. And, I know you saw, because you sent me the text message of the screenshot of the offer that was rumored, to be working on between us and the Bears. Johnny, what are you thinking with this? How are you feeling? Are you optimistic about what we can get from trading Wentz? It seems like it's foregone conclusion at this point. How are you feeling? I'm actually shocked with some of the rumors that I've heard, honestly.
So the way I look at it, if I first look at the Goff-Stafford trade, and people try and compare this Goff situation to the Wentz situation, I don't think they're comparable because I don't think the Eagles are calling teams to try to get rid of somebody. The Rams were calling teams to get rid of Goff. Right. And they were willing to put stuff with him to get him the hell out of town.
Right.
So, when you text that you like the coach's girlfriend, I think I think the coach doesn't like you and is going to get rid of you. So that's different. But seeing all these different rumors, and you look at it, the Colts, the Bears, I'm just going to say teams, Washington, New England, all these San Francisco, all these teams that are probably going to need quarterbacks, not even going to the Carolinas and the Jets and the Jaguars and the teams that are going to draft quarterbacks. The Bears and Indianapolis seem like viable places because you have Frank Reich, Press Taylor's there, Mike Groh's there. You have that system there, but then you also have the Bears.
Yeah.
Matt Nagy came from Kansas City, runs type of an offense of a, Doug Peterson era, whatever. DeFilippo's the quarterback's coach. Ryan Pace was really enamored with Wentz. There was reports back in 2016, but didn't have enough firepower to get up to past the Eagles to be able to draft him. So then they wind up going Trubisky the next year. To me, it's where there's smoke, there's fire. And like you said, a lot of these credible sources are coming out. Would I like to see Wentz stay and be back to what he was? And, yeah, of course. But sometimes things in a situation probably won't get better.
Yeah.
And if they do, you're really taking a huge risk, a financial risk at this point. You're taking a financial risk by trading him too. But I think there's value. I think you can get at least a first-round pick.
Yeah.
And possibly more.
Yeah.
And if that's true, you may have to do it.
Yeah. As soon as I heard first round pick, in my mind, I thought no brainer. Like, obviously run up the price as far as you can go to get, whatever you can for him. But I just don't see how he can come back and play for Philadelphia. I don't see it, between the fans and the media. It just seems broken beyond repair. We thought it was Doug Peterson. Some people did, but no, it's beyond Doug Peterson. It's beyond that offense that we were running. If I personally would be in Wentz's situation, I would want out, man. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, it's been harsh. People were quick to jump on all the negatives with him, this first, terrible season. And people jumped on it in a heartbeat. First it was the injury proneness. Then he plays a couple seasons and stays, played a season, stayed healthy. That goes away. And now it's, we got to jump on his stats now, but we ignored his stats the previous years. So it's just crazy. I don't think it's smart as a franchise to flip on a guy that you obviously thought was a franchise quarterback. I don't think that that's a good look so quickly after the extension. But, as things have played out, things are the way they are. Jalen Hurts came in. He gave question marks. He made question marks for Carson Wentz. And kudos to Jalen Hurts. He seems like he's a very talented guy. And, to not just focus on Carson Wentz, because I feel like that's not all that factors into this decision. Without Jalen Hurts in the building, I don't think we're talking about this right now. Jalen Hurts, he did play to the point where you could consider trading Carson Wentz. And now we're where we're at. And, Jalen Hurts, he seems like a great character guy. Not to say that Carson Wentz isn't. I think they're both, great character, great leader from what they put on the outside. Jalen Hurts is already getting great high regards from guys like Jason Avant, calling him the most confident guy in the room. That's the guy you want as your quarterback. You see them bring in a guy like Brian Johnson for the quarterback's coach from the Gators. Obviously, has connections with Jalen Hurts. Yeah. So they were, I don't think they knew what was happening with Wentz when they signed Sirianni as their coach. I think question marks were in the air, but I think the Eagles are starting to realize now, like, hey, we might have to entertain this if we can't get anything from Carson. You know what I mean? I know people are saying let him alone. And, I've been wanting to say, like, if he does come out and say something that's going to get twisted, but dude, they done fired your Super Bowl winning head coach and then hired another head coach, and you still have not said anything other than a Rodney McLeod shout out on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. The smoke, the fire's there, the house is burning down, the woods are burning down. Like, it's so apparent to me now. And, I was a non-believer, but it did seem like Jalen Hurts rallied the guys a little bit better. I will say that. I mentioned that towards the end of the season. Whether it's because he's a younger guy, Jalen Hurts is a guy that comes from Houston, Texas. Obviously, he has a lot of swag to him. He really does. And, you've seen that with guys like Jalen Mills, where that can keep you in it. That can, kind of lead guys. That can make guys confident. Yeah. And, I like Jalen Hurts. I'm cool with going into next season with him.
He's been doing interviews. You see the interviews he's doing? He's did a couple of interviews, try to get a number, just a couple of different things he's doing. He's got that confidence, and I understand the whole aspect of him being his arm isn't as strong as Wentz, and he's not as talented as this guy, and he's not as this guy, and people like to throw it all that. But the other thing is, I'm not going to compare, but if you have a player like Dak Prescott who came out and he's not the strongest arm, but your coach works with what you can do.
Yeah.
What about a player like a Jay Cutler who came out, who had the strong arm, all the tools, everything looks good here, then all of a sudden he struggles and so yes, your talent, but the problem is it's the work ethic and what you put forward. And, there's a lot of mental with it too. It's not just all physical, it's mental as well. If someone is mentally tough to take it, to do this, and a lot of people throwing out Jalen Hurts, he got benched at Alabama and then he left and went somewhere else. And see, he can't stay at somewhere and try to ride it out. You're in college. Baker Mayfield could have rode it out. He transferred. A player like Kyler Murray transferred. And so don't give me this, he transferred because he's an easy way out. He transferred because when you're in college, you try to get all your stats, you try to get all your film so that the NFL scouts can see you and be able to give you a standing. If he never transfers from Alabama and Tua's still the quarterback, he's just the backup, he's maybe a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick.
Yeah.
Him going got him up to be a 2nd round talent. Yeah. So for me, yes, he showed confidence. He could do a couple things, but if they go this route, they need to surround him.
Yeah.
Better than they surrounded Carson.
Yeah.
Other than getting Alshon and, Torrey Smith and, for that 2017 to help him a little bit there, they didn't put much around him.
Yeah.
So my thing is to do a better job at doing that, is to be able to put players around Jalen Hurts to help him succeed. If you go that route.
Yeah. And I think that's the point here is, how comfortable are you going, with the new head coach? You can be as optimistic as anybody, but we still have Howie Roseman in the building. And, Dorsey was snagged from us. So there's no help there. The hope was that maybe he would take care of some of the drafting. He's not there. What's going to be different about this draft? I mean, we got the 6th pick. I mean, that's a positive. It's hard to go wrong there, right? I mean, it's hard to go wrong at the 6th pick, I would think. If you can get 2 first-round picks for Carson Wentz, make it happen.
If you get 2 first-round picks, you're like the hamburglar. You run in, you snatch it, and run.
Exactly. Get him out of town now. I'm sorry. Like I'm a guy. I have a bunch of Carson Wentz jerseys, but screw that, man. After a season like this with a disgruntled, environment, no, you got to take that deal. It's crazy that's what's. I was so surprised that's what would really be offered. But I think Dan kind of points to something that I was going to bring up. Anyways, with Deshaun Watson and his situation, it's a little bit different, rather than being completely silent, he's been completely vocal about what he wants. And he wants out of Houston. So, I kind of we could talk about Dan's question here for one. I don't think that's going to happen because I think that would call for us to give up draft capital in order to get Watson. And that's not something that I'm probably willing to, I'm not willing to do that. I don't think I want to get rid of this, 6th pick at all. Unless we're trading back for, multiple picks. Because I think we need as many picks as we can get. We got to get younger. We got to get, a talent influx in this roster. Yeah. I'm not with giving out draft capital. I'm with receiving it and then seeing what a guy like Jalen Hurts has got. If it goes wrong with Jalen Hurts, then guess what? You'll probably be in a pretty good draft situation next year. So you can always go and get a quarterback. You know what I mean? So,
and you're right there because look at all the teams who need quarterbacks this year. You're going to probably have 5, maybe 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first 2 rounds. So that takes 6 teams there, plus all the teams who are going to get these veterans and get these other players who may not be looking in that top tier. So if it doesn't work out and you struggle and you have a top 5, top 8, top 9, top 10 pick, you can then use it on a quarterback in next year's draft. So but to what Dan's saying here with, Watson, I don't think Watson and Wentz plus ass, I wouldn't do that. But like Watson being vocal about it and then people saying that he shouldn't be vocal and doing all this, like Brett Favre, who wanted out in Green Bay. He needs to just, go back to his Mississippi home and just sit there on the couch and just drink beers and eat chips and cheese or whatever and just be quiet.
Seriously, man.
And
who asks him these questions?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to listen to him talk. Exactly. The other thing is you had players like John Elway and Eli Manning who got drafted and didn't even want to go to those teams and made big stinks and stomped their feet and cried like little babies. I understand it was different because it was in 83 and 2004, but there's been players that request trades. Yeah. Why can't Watson request a trade from Houston if he doesn't find that organization to be beneficial to his outlook in an NFL career? And JJ Watt's not happy with the way they've been playing and the way he's probably going to be gone. If the rumors are true, and he was told he was going to be in on the GM search and the coaching search, and then the owners, okay, we're going to hire this guy. We're not going to really consult you on that. And then for me, I have a little bit of a theory. Did they hire David Culley to sway Watson?
And that probably was the final straw, man. You know what I mean? Like stop. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Now Culley may be a great coach. Everything and all along the lines of that, but if Watson wants out, I understand his talent, but Houston has no 1st-round picks, no 2nd-round picks this year. How do you build a team with a franchise quarterback? You're going to lose Will Fuller; he's a free agent. You traded DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of peanuts and Scotch tape, and you got Laramie Tunsil left tackle, okay, but you're probably going to lose J.J. Watt. Your defense was awful last year.
Yeah,
they're going to be switching defenses to a 4-3, so that makes it, even worse. To me, it's you're in a rebuilding.
Yeah, exactly.
Trade Watson, get as much as you can, whoever you trade him to, because you need young players.
Yeah.
I hope he gets traded and hope he gets to play for, a team that going to support him and put players around him, and along the lines of that.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point there. It's the best scenario for both sides. It's the best scenario for Houston Texans. You're not going to be able to build a contender around Watson without draft picks. And guess what? I don't think free agents are gonna, obviously they'll get their free agents, but I don't think the top guys are gonna want to go to the team where Deshaun Watson is demanding out. I just don't see that. So, there's not a lot of incentive as far as getting free agents. What is Watson looking at with Houston Texans? He's looking at a depleted roster that is to their own fault. If you just at least had DeAndre Hopkins, that changes an entire offense. You know what I mean? They ruined the offense when they gave up DeAndre Hopkins. as good as Will Fuller was, as good as Brandon Cooks was, they're not DeAndre Hopkins. They don't take the attention that he gets. No. And, I just look at Deshaun Watson, not the same as Wentz. Obviously, Wentz had this terrible season. That's why he's in this situation. But just in a sense of the team, what have you done for me? You know what I mean? How have you helped me? Deshaun Watson's case is a little bit better than Wentz's, of course. But, I think it's the best case scenario for both sides. You get Watson out, he goes to somewhere, maybe it is a Miami, maybe it is New York Jets, whatever the case may be. It's a young team that has capital that can build a roster. You look at Miami, they already have a roster. I don't know how, much fruit is to that Miami stuff with Tua and all that. Yeah. But, even teams like San Fran, if they wanted to, get in the running for that, I think it works out for both sides because you get an all-pro quarterback and then you get, multiple draft picks and maybe a young player or two. So that's what the Texans need to look for. They should be looking for that. And that's kind of where I'm at with the Eagles as well. It's like, I don't think that with Carson Wentz next season, we're winning the Super Bowl. Like, get capital for him. Hope that Jalen Hurts can be the guy and build for the future because this is not a contending team right now. You know what I mean? So,
because if you don't trade Wentz and you bank on him to rebound, and he doesn't rebound, you try and trade him, you're not getting anything close to what you possibly could get for him now. So it's the stock aspect. It's looking into you try and get rid of him to try and get some assets. You're not going to be blocked. This isn't Robin Hood. You're not going to be blocked. You're going to be able to get rid of them. But, unfortunately, you may have to do it for the better of your future because this team needs to get younger. We've talked about it. You have to get younger. You got to get draft capital. You got to get guys. You got to get a plethora of picks to be able to build a young roster to develop. That's just how I feel with that.
Yeah, and I agree, man. I do want to point out with the Deshaun Watson situation, I was very disappointed in Dick Vermeil, man, and what he came out and said. I'm not sure if you saw that, but Dick Vermeil, man, that's one coach that I actually really like, and he just really basically, said similar things to Brett Favre, kind of just shut up. If you want to own a team, then, as if it's that simple. But yeah, he just came out of left field with that. I almost didn't know why he was, even having that combo. But last thing before we get to, our Super Bowl picks, everything with that, I did want to, kind of dive into some free agents that you want to bring up, maybe discuss some guys that if you were the Eagles, you would be targeting. I know you get deep into this stuff, so I definitely want to pick your brain on that.
Yeah, I have a couple names jotted down. A lot of them have some ties to the coaching staff now. The first guy, safety Malik Hooker. He'll be 25. He's coming off an Achilles injury. The first two guys I have on here are guys coming off injuries, so they may be a low cost, but Eagles don't have much cap room, so you're going to have to try to get some of these guys who are coming off of an injury. And now Malik Hooker has a little bit of an extensive injury history, 2017 tearing your ACL. You got your Achilles injury this year. So he may become cheap, maybe a veteran minimum to be able to a 1-year deal to try to build off that and get a bigger contract. But 6'1", 214-pound safety. When he's in there and he started the last 2 years, 19 and 18, he started over, I think it was 13 and 14 games. He gets picks, he gets interceptions. He's a ball hawking guy. He knows Gannon's defense. So that's one guy I would like to see in the secondary because we don't know with Rodney McLeod if he's going to start on PUP. So, if you get a guy like Malik Hooker, he did have an Achilles injury in September. So you got to kind of watch and see whether or not he's healthy enough.
See his progression.
There's a lot depending on the first two guys in terms of if they're healthy enough. If you're
how do you feel about Xavier Rhodes?
He's the third guy on my list there. So
gotcha.
You kind of reading my mind there. So. Yeah, 6'1", 208-pound corner, long corner, which Gannon's defense likes that. Long corners, that, they play a lot of cover 2, cover 3. They play a lot of defenses. They blitz. They do a lot of things that we're not used to the last 5 years. So his best seasons have been with Gannon as his secondary coach. for either the Colts or the Vikings. He was with the Vikings as well. So, yeah, Rhodes will be 31. If you want to go that route and have him and Slay as your starting outside corners, he'd be better than any of the other corners outside of Slay. So, to me, that's an upgrade. Same thing with another corner I had. I've talked to you about it. I've texted you about him, Akella Witherspoon from San Francisco. Another big, lanky corner. He's only 26. I loved when he was coming out of Colorado. Him and Awuzie were teammates. I love both of those guys when they came out. 6'1", 195, super long, athletic. He's been up and down in terms of, some little injuries that's kept him out. But he's another low-risk guy. So it's another guy I would like to see. And he's young, only 26 years old. So he's another player that you could possibly build with.
And you've mentioned, a couple guys here that just have some length to them, a little bit more physical. And, I think that's a key when you're looking opposite of Darius Slay. You saw him kind of, I don't want to say get manhandled, but, he didn't have his strongest outings against bigger receivers like DK and, Devontae Adams. So you might want to put a more physical, lanky guy on the other side, another veteran, of course. Because like you said, another veteran isn't going to hurt this secondary. They need as much experience at being professional and good as they can get.
Exactly.
So, yeah, they got to take what they can get as far as that.
Another guy, running back Marlon Mack from Indianapolis. He was the starter until the first game of the year he tore his Achilles.
Right.
So he was a starting back, 6 foot, 214, coming off 1,000-yard season in 2019. He gives you that if Miles Sanders were to get hurt, a guy you could plug in that has starting experience. You're not running with Boston Scott and Corey Clement and this patchwork of a running core. So again, if he's healthy enough because of the Achilles injury, so there's a lot of but another guy, a veteran minimum, a low. I still think they draft a running back, honestly, in my opinion, but it doesn't hurt with the way Sirianni most likely will run his offense. They do run the ball. So he's definitely a guy I'd like to see. Another position, which is a position we talked about endlessly, whether I talk to you or I talk to my co-hosts on our show, All About the Birds, is linebacker.
Yeah.
Eric Wilson from Minnesota, 6'1", 230, had a tremendous season. This first full season starting, he started a handful of games the last couple of seasons. 28 years old. He had 3 sacks, 3 picks, 122 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 9 quarterback hits. He showed up. Now, his contract may be a little bit more than you'd want to pay, but linebackers I don't really feel are going to be that valued because there's a couple pretty high-priced linebackers in this class. So he may not get as much money as the other guys. So you may be able to get him for a little bit lower of a cost, but it gives you that veteran guy who's been there, who's also been coached by the new Eagles linebackers coach, Rallis. So, you have a little familiarity there. So that would be a welcome addition because we know what the Eagles need to build linebacker. And I swear, if I see scrolling or a notification anywhere that the Eagles have re-signed Nate Gary, there's going to be a lot of issues. And not just me, probably with a lot of, Eagles Twitter.
It's
but
right.
Definitely an upgrade that they would need in that position.
Yeah, definitely agree.
My last guy is another Colt, kind of a theme here, but defensive end Danico Autry. He's a little bit of a veteran, 31. He'll be turning 31 years old. He's 6'5", 285. Can play inside, outside. Had 7.5 sacks last year, 30.5 career sacks. Can be kind of that Vinny Curry type. Can pass rush on the interior. Can play on the outside. Can do a whole bunch of things. Is a good run against the run, especially with that size. So that's another player. He's not going to cost you a whole lot. So, you're getting little pieces because with the defensive end situation, we don't know if Derek Burnett's coming back.
Right.
We don't know what they're going to do with Brandon Graham. Josh Sweat's there, but then you have a whole bunch of unknowns behind him. So there's a lot, and I feel like they have to draft an edge rusher as well too. So there's a lot of question marks in that position as well. So, getting a player like that who's a veteran, especially if you move on from a Barnett, I could definitely say.
Yeah, and I kind of saw the theme that you were going there. with basically, veteran defensive players, kind of to just instill some talent into this defense. Ever since, I won't say ever since Malcolm, it was kind of a going theme as the years went on from the, Super Bowl season, whether it was guys declining or guys exiting the roster. It's pretty much gone to shit. And, there's just not a lot of talent back there. You got a bunch of guys, especially in that linebacking core, that are, what I like to call tryhards. Yeah. And they try really hard and they play almost average, you know what I mean? Middle of the pack type of guys. And, when it gets to that next level, like a game on the line against Pittsburgh and Chase Claypool, Nate Gary can't be guarding Chase Claypool. And that's where you see the difference in talent. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to eradicate on that defense. I want to get back to an aggressive and a confident defense, a defense that's not scared. A lot of the time they look like, it's a big play going to happen. You need to start making things happen. And that's what I haven't seen from the Eagles defense the last few seasons. Turnovers.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that. Turnovers.
Just being aggressive, man. And that's just not what I'm used to. I grew up on, the Brian Dawkins-led defense, just a powerhouse unit. And this isn't what I'm used to. You know what I mean? Since Malcolm, this season without Malcolm, it was even worse. Now, Jalen Mills is a guy, and I'm sure we'll talk about this over the offseason, but definitely a guy I think you have to bring back. On this roster. Once again, he's not going to cost that much, and he knows your defense there. He knows the unit, I should say, maybe not the scheme now, but he is an instilled guy in that roster.
It's good you bring him up because what Gannon has done and what the Colts have done in terms of their cornerbacks, guys that they've had, getting Xavier Rhodes, he had a great year. Guys like Rock Ya-Sin and all these corners are all longer corners. Jalen Mills is 6 foot, almost 6'1". He's 198. So if you were to resign, he may not play safety. Maybe he plays outside corner because they play a lot of cover 2 man and cover 3, which means they could be aggressive on the front because they know there's help behind them.
Yeah.
So if they know that there's help behind them, when they do those curls, we could see the plays that we used to watch when we used to watch Asante Samuel jump routes and intercept the ball and different things like that. Jim Schwartz's defense was, let's put them on an island and maybe they make a play, turn themselves around, which is very difficult. And, and we saw that because we didn't see many turnovers. And a lot of turnovers we saw were tip balls, which you didn't see much of that. But I think Jalen Mills, whether he comes back as corner or he comes back as a safety, what he did because not having Rodney, I would like to see him back because I think he is a valuable piece. He's not an all-pro. Yeah. He's not, Hall of Fame, but he is a solid player who is productive. If you look at his stats, and look what he did, changing from corner in a Schwartz defense to the safety, the rover, the linebacker, he played everywhere. He even went out the corner when they're hurt. He was doing everything. Yeah. So I give him credit, and I would love to see him back. I like Jalen Mills.
I think that's I think you kind of stated your point there. He can play safety or corner. So you kind of, if you can get him back for cheap, which you can, you're going to get a discount because he likes playing in Philadelphia, I think. He's a leader in the locker room, and he is a Swiss Army knife in a sense, where he can play safety or corner. He does have experience at both in the NFL. So
you're right. Yeah.
I think that's, a guy that can kind of, help these new coaches lead this team, similar to guys like Lane Johnson, those veterans on the squad that can kind of just guide the coaches because these guys are young at the same time. And, I'm not saying they're going to have a hard time commanding the room or anything. Well, that's yet to be seen, of course. But, Jalen Mills is that guy that you definitely want to get on your side as the coaching staff. Get him on the same page as you, and then everybody else will follow in line. So that I think that's what you're looking at with Jalen Mills. Definitely a guy that you gotta take a look at there. I guess we'll close it out. Right, it's getting late. I'll get you out of here, Johnny. I appreciate you once again. Before I get you out of here, I do want to get your actual Super Bowl picks. I'll give you mine as well. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll go first. I'll go first. You can get yours and you can end it.
Cool.
Get your out, everything. So I think it's going to be a close game. A lot of people think it's going to be high scoring. I, for one, don't think it's going to be super high scoring. I have it 27-23 Tampa Bay. I think Tom Brady wins. And I'm going MVP. I'm going along the lines of, in Super Bowl 50, I picked Von Miller to be the MVP. Just of a hunch. I just threw it out there to be different. I'm going Shaq Barrett, another defensive player. I think he gets a few sacks and a turnover, a strip fumble. I'm going Shaq Barrett MVP. So a little bit different in terms of.
I like that. Al's got 33-28 Chiefs. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to predict this game, and that's one of the beauties of this game, actually. Not sure if there is a better matchup. Maybe Aaron Rodgers versus the Bills or Aaron Rodgers versus the Chiefs. I'm not sure that would be better storyline. You got the GOAT going against the future GOAT. So I think that's a pretty good storyline. And it's a pretty good matchup all around. I wasn't a huge fan of the Bucs, before the season started. I didn't see it with them. I really didn't. I thought, it was a lot of hype around that team.
Yeah.
They by the playoffs, the beginning of the playoffs, I was a believer. I had seen the way that they win, and it's a good playoff style of playing. They have a tough defense that it's an opportunistic defense. You know what I mean? They can bend but not break, and I think that's the type of defense you're going to need against a team like the Chiefs. You saw them fare well against the Packers. That offense was very prolific. Obviously, Mahomes is a different beast. Tyreek Hill is a different beast.
Yeah.
So Travis Kelce, he's one of the best tight ends ever, if not the best. You're looking at a prolific team here coming against the Bucs, but who better to take on that prolific team than Tom Brady as the underdog with one of the best, defensive lines in the league, quite honestly. As far as pass rush and run stop, those linebackers are fast. If there is anybody that, maybe could keep up with Travis Kelce. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Travis Kelce is going to go off. But if there's anybody that could keep up with him in coverage, it would be these guys. They are talented. They are fast. And, these guys are confident. I think Tom Brady brought a confidence to that team. You bring in guys like Antonio Brown. Obviously, that instills confidence. And I look for Antonio Brown to be amped for this game. I really want to see him play in this game. And I'm interested to see what he can do. But there's a plethora of weapons on that Buccaneers offense. Honestly, it's crazy the amount of weapons that Tom Brady went from between New England to Tampa Bay. And it's paid off. I do think that Bruce Arians, he's got to tone it down a little bit, man. You know what I mean? Against the Packers, I thought he was going hog wild with those deep passes in the second half, and it almost cost them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's Bruce Arians or that's Tom Brady, whatever the case may be. Definitely going to have to take shots, but you got to take them wisely. If you do get like a 10-point lead, you cannot turn the ball over like that. But yeah, like I said, at the beginning of the show, I think the key for the Bucs, score 7s, not 3s. And I do think it will hit the 30s. I got it 31 Bucs, 24 Chiefs. The Bucs end up winning by a touchdown and an extra point there. But I think that the pressure gets to Mahomes, and I just have this like odd feeling that things are going to work out for Brady, like it always does. I just feel like if anything can go his way, it will in this game. And I just, until somebody does beat Brady, then I won't, obviously the Eagles did beat Brady, but then he comes back and wins the Super Bowl the next season. So, until they beat him, I'm not going to go against Brady. And I think he has a caliber team that can compete with the Chiefs and maybe just surprise some people. But the Chiefs, don't be surprised. It's that kind of game.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
it is.
the Bucs can win. I picked them to win, but the Chiefs are no slouch either. This is maybe one of the best teams that we've ever seen in the NFL. And definitely one of the best quarterbacks. And Andy Reid, that offensive scheme, everything, the speed, they break games open, man. Yeah, gonna come back to defense, man. And it's who's gonna make the plays. And I know, the Chiefs got playmakers as well. They got guys, like the Honey Badger back there, like Chris Jones that you mentioned, other guys as well. Guys have been stepping up the entire postseason. And, it's going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes and who makes the most plays. So I do got a 31-24 there, Bucks, but we will see, man.
Who's your MVP?
We will see. My MVP. Wow, yeah, I almost tried to get out of here without giving it. Wow, there's a really loud car, like blasting music outside. But no, I literally gave it to Tom Brady by default. I think that he'll have a clean game, but I think the defense will end up making a few plays that will decide the game. But I think Tom Brady will get the credit for it. And, that's kind of how it's worked out for him in the past as well.
So does LaShawn McCoy get to touch the ball? Or is he not dressed again and still win a Super Bowl? So right now we have LaShawn McCoy winning his second Super Bowl ring. Does he do anything?
I don't think so. He might dress, but I don't think he's getting a touch, man. Fournette's been killing it, and then you got Ronald Jones. So, unfortunately, I don't know, man.
Do you know what it's going to be like, though? I guess it depends on when he retires. But I know it's 5 years later. So say 5 to 7 years later, people are talking about Hall of Fame. They're like, oh, LaShawn McCoy has all these rushing yards and 2 Super Bowls, and he should be off. And he did like people don't know that he didn't play. If he doesn't play in the Super Bowl, he didn't play in any of those Super Bowls.
Contribute to the Super Bowl.
Yet he won 2 Super Bowl rings. So
hey, kudos to him, man, for picking back-to-back squads. If it does happen, he was smart. Well, maybe he wasn't even smart enough. Maybe the Chiefs just didn't want him anymore. But he was smart enough to go on over to Tampa Bay with the GOAT and try to run it up that way. So he's kind of let it go, and that's what some players aren't willing to do. Take that backseat role, and even a guy like Deshaun Jackson, who still has some speed to him. He's going to be looking at that type of situation, in the coming years as well, where you can be part of a winner, and maybe he's different than McCoy. He can actually make a play in a game, but he may see himself in a similar role of snaps. But yeah, it's funny. LaShawn gets 2 Super Bowls. At least we got a Super Bowl after him. That once again, I'll let him go. He can have it. But we got ours. But Johnny, I will get you out of here, man. It's getting late. Thank you once again for coming on. You guys already know Johnny Ulecka from All About the Birds. Of course, be sure to check out that show, especially the one that aired earlier today. Fred Barnett coming on the show. That's awesome, man. I'm glad you guys got to do that.
Yeah, great insight. He was awesome. Talking some memories, it was awesome with him. So definitely check that out. It's also going to drop on all the podcasting platforms tomorrow morning. So we'll get that out. And if you weren't able to see it, you can always listen to it. So it was great guest and something we have for the future. So,
Perfect.
It's going to be awesome.
Perfect, Johnny. Thank you once again. Of course, guys, if you didn't catch this whole episode, it will be on YouTube. It will be available on all streaming platforms as well. Once again, if you don't follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, you can find me at Scotty Drowned on Twitter and Instagram. You can find the sports page at ST Philly Sports 1. This show was presented to you by Heat Ratio Sports. We were live. Thank you guys for having me on the network tonight. I was happy to see all the interaction from all the Heat Ratio guys, all the Heat Ratio fans. You can expect to see me a little bit more. But that's going to be it for this episode of Scotty Talks. Hey man, go ahead, go Bucks. You know, make me look good. Go Bucks. Win the Super Bowl. I will win some money on that as well. I did place a couple bets on the Bucks. So
get that money.
Get that money, man. Get that money. Peace, guys.
Later.